Well, hello everyone. It's actually rather good to see you all again today. Now, the reason why I've come into this old and ancient world is because I feel so guilty about having seemingly ignored Fine's request for so very long. He wanted me again to show both him and you all, as well as future me, the sand generator that I had done before, but I have to tell you the story on the sand generator, because the story has been erased, but I still know it. So I'll give you the last living copy of the story. When I first joined you all, Chorus Crowd of all people were so kind in to allow me access to their server, an honorary member simply because I was kind to them, and I loved everything that they showed me. There were a few points that they had mentioned things along the line of a device or a build may or may not have been built with the assistance of the so-called printer mod, whatever it's called, Schematica. And I was okay with that because they were rather upfront about it, and their server was mainly full of large and intricate and amazing looking builds. And among those, I had found a sand generator that was the two biggest names who were not only competing but having a feud. And I was in the process of first showing myself at that point to be a decent judge, and I had come to the conclusion, at least concerning the two of those big names, that their machines were not inspired by each other, despite the close time differences. Now, the upper half, of course, would be Ilmango, and ETA 740, I do believe, helped with the patterning of the slime. And then the bottom end, right here, is Ray. Now, beneath the portal block, you have the cobble wall, and next to the cobble wall, you have the top slab. Now, on powering it, it's okay for it to share the signal a little bit because this only cares about it lifting. And as you can see here, there's a one redstone tick delay of this outer arm versus this inner arm. The complete bottom endish bits are all me, really. All I had done is basically taken the what's it called, observer clock and made it into an 8 game tick diddly dopper. Anyone could have done that, and then offset them against each other so that once you turn it on, it'll of course occupy the block as you expect it to do. Now, naturally, I do believe that 7 game ticks was possible. However, it would eventually break the sand, from what I understand. So, and unless of course you were using an extremely old piece of sand. And actually, with an extremely old piece of sand, you can run it at 6. I know it. Not this version, the 108K versus the 180K. And of course, the 108K, it's the exact same way with the cobble wall below the portal block as Ray showed. It works. And it's basically, the thing here minus the 2 outer arms. So I'm pretty sure that you can find an even more elegant way to get the thingy set up, and based off of everything that I've showed you, you're more than capable of actually outclassing me. But there is what Chorus Crowd had in their end dimension, and they were the very first person to ever have 2 end portals on top of each other, and they did not know why. And ever since then, people have been trying to figure out how and why. Now, looking at Lord Evergreen, I can't help but swell with pride. And part of that pride that swells within me is in the fact that I was very solidly beaten by someone who I didn't realize I had actually inspired him. Lintex did 8 game ticks. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. But of course, as you know, this little dingus. Now, after having operated it for a few seconds like that, you'll really understand why it was that I never bothered trying to go any faster than that. Now, of course, you can adjust the speed by replacing the observer that I had at this point with a repeater at 2 ticks, and that gives you an extra tick to play with on getting those saplings placed. But as you saw, it's already so very, very fast, and with only a couple of hoppers for 100% of the sapling collection. So I couldn't really be more pleased to have been so thoroughly beaten. But I also swell with pride still at my own creation, because it has something that none of the others have. The others are spruce wood farms. Mine's a spruce sapling farm. The spruce wood farms always require a rather large number of hopper carts and hoppers. Not that I'm putting them down or anything. It's nothing wrong with that at all. But I do take a special bit of pride in using so few hoppers. It slipped my mind until just a moment ago that I had even attempted to go and make a version of Lord Evergreen that was for 113 and above by swapping the place of the signal and the dispenser. It was able to bypass the idea that the what was it called? Spruce trees would grow despite the fact that there was wood next to them. So I decided, well, if there's wood and piston next to them, then they definitely can't grow until it's a 2x2 tree. But it basically would work under the exact same principle and with all the exact same timings as the previous one. Now, since that slipped my mind, I'll find a place to slip that in, covertly, hopefully. Ah, and then of course, special bits of pride. If memory serves, this was wheat, carrot, potato. I think that you could even shift it slightly to pull off cocoa beans. Yeah, there's the cocoa bean version. And then of course, it's, once again, in a sense, it's as fast as it can go, maximum speed. Oh, whoops. Any faster and you would actually require some kind of an auto clicker. The same thing for Lord Evergreen over here. I do believe that 1x1 trees are the only ones that you can actually ramp all the way up to 4 game ticks and not require an auto clicker. Although, if memory serves, this one operates at something like, was it 14? I want to say that this one is 14. Now the funny thing is it's actually faster when running oak. Now the reason why it's faster when running oak is because oak can actually grow while the pistons are still extended. That actually gave a good number of demonstrations. Huh. Somehow it failed. Only for a moment, though. Very nice. Now, when I had dubbed it the Unbreakable, that's what I meant. If you found an error where it was just like, why is this? You should just be able to place a log to fix it. Now, of course, it's not the fastest thing out there. Everyone has done better than me. But I collect the most saplings, and definitely with the least number of hoppers. I only put a couple of hoppers in there just to make sure that it'll collect it anyway. But I remember the burning chamber on here. It was in honor of Zero X. I saw him doing something with trees, and he was removing the bottom log and putting it off into a burning chamber. And that's when I decided that since every so very, very far and few between, I've got an extra log somewhere inside of this machine. I don't know where it comes from, but it somehow blows past everything as though this area here were seemingly full, and I'll have one log blow past every maybe 1,000 logs, if not more, and it'll end up in the burning chamber. Over on Prototech, when I had built a copy of this, I don't know if it still exists, but I had made sure that over there, that it had the burning chamber as well. Kind of a good reason to include a bit of netherrack in the build. Could have used a magma block, but I used netherrack instead. I'm positive that I did. I'm almost positive I made the one over there pink, too. Really don't remember. Ah, right. And then this little bit, it was just kind of proving to me, let's see here, 4 of them on the top, 3 of them on the bottom, meaning it's 14 game ticks. And it's basically showing that it can absolutely run at 14 game ticks. Now, it, like many other things that I had kind of called solid core, it's powering it basically just through the wall to make a solid kind of item elevator, praying that things will squirt out on the wood side instead of attempting to pop all the way through the wall, which should be considerably difficult. And then these, I remember that I had not invented the elevator, nor had I invented the conveyor for these dropper lines, but in between the two I had gone and combined them such that it would be reasonably perfectly timed for placing stuff into the from one dingus into the next without having to rely on something silly like an intermediary chest and hopper, or having items backlog inside of it, God forbid. Naturally I had also attempted one wide, but one wide is not pretty. It is not pretty at all. I think that this one was the correct timings, and this one may have been incorrect timings. I don't remember in the slightest. Ah, then this little central portion here. I remember it being Excelsior, who I was looking at build a shulker box loader, and then I built this next to his, and it turned out to actually be the smallest that you could build, reasonably solid in design, and with this observer facing you so that if for some reason it's in the wrong state, you could perhaps use a flint and steel against the observer, or maybe a slime block in future versions. Something to just trigger the observer for but a brief moment to allow the device to cycle once. Or maybe even just something so simple as a button. Maybe even that would work. I don't know. And then of course just trying to get the corner figured out. I eventually I can kind of say that I got it figured out in a way. I think. Kind of. Oh right. This infinitely resettable clock. Eventually it'll serve a good purpose. It basically just counts down to a specific point and then gives this little pulse to remove the clock from its running state over the top of this dropper counter. And of course the dropper counter. I remember it was an honorable failure. Who was it? Seth Bling? Who had done the challenge 5x5 Obsidian Vault? Never could quite fit the footprint that he was looking for, but it inspired me into building this thing and then twisting it around in every direction that I possibly could. And then while taking a look at those, it was also an honorable failure. I think it has too many hoppers. I was looking at Doug and really liked their layout with that flat chest wall, so I submitted this as kind of my honorable failure to build their design. I think that it was appreciated, that the thought was appreciated at least. I can definitely say that much. Of course, you can't access everything from the center block here in a survival mode. Not even in creative mode. But, I remember wanting it nice and large enough to where I could fly around the inside of this place with my elytra, once it came to that point. Plus, over there, I had ideas about, how do I describe it? Labeling a block that is not a block, but like a partial block thing, such as a crop, which might require a support block, so that I could mark the locations of things in a decent fashion for the inside of something like a storage hall. Now, of course, this was just kind of a quick mock-up of the basic idea behind it, with it being kind of like, well, from the inside, you would want it to come to nice, reasonably large halls, and you'd need something of an entrance, even if it did need to kind of cut itself down a little bit to go and make it to where you could still have the item streams going past. Although it would be a little bit on the funny side with the item streams quite literally going past the entrance. But it was just kind of an idea that I had never fully fleshed out. What is this? Oh, right, that silly little ice farm. Nothing special about that. Nothing special about that. Let's see here. Was that all? Was that all 6 of my office relics? That was most of them, I do believe. Yeah. It's only a couple of tiny little bits that I didn't mention so much. Kinda like the, where is it? The lava bucket sorter. It was a cute little idea. It's not filled right now, so I can't give a proper demonstration. But it would, come just after another item, which would be right about there, perhaps. No, maybe it's Sparker Sorter. Yeah, it's this one, the lava bucket sorter. I mean the bucket sorter. It sorts between buckets, water and, lava buckets, and then like other non-stackable things. Yeah. A series of sorters. Quite a lengthy series of sorters. Yeah, I do believe that that's all of the old little office relics that I had. Ah, right, and that. The one-wide fish farm. It also can be seen on Prototech because Ray had built it. Now, when I was offered the challenge, I was just kind of accepting, whatever offered challenges people might have. One person suggested one wide fish farm just because, so I went ahead and built it just because he suggested it. He asked if he could use it, and I was like, sure, use it however you want, do whatever you want with it. Later on, I saw a tutorial from Pism2 on how to build it, and oh, was I ever pleased. Oh, was I ever pleased. That was a happy day for me. Huh. An entire world full of projects that were not good enough. Some of them that were maximum speed, but still not the fastest. Others that were complex and interesting, damn near unbreakable, but never the fastest, never the best, never number one. And I'm okay with that. Because deep down inside, I know that I helped inspire a lot of people who were number one. I also know that I had a chance to help a few for that brief period of time that we were together. Who knows, maybe again we'll meet. It would be good. Well, here we stand at the end. I hope you'll forgive me for taking so much of your time. I hope you have a good day. And if anything, hope you enjoyed the stories.